Hi, welcome to this video, and for today's video, let's see how we can divide our companies in HubSpot into different tiers. It happens that when you have a lot of different companies in your HubSpot portal, you want to be able, in a glance, to see if this company is a good fit or not for your business based on several criteria. One of the solutions for that is to create a property named company tiers and put their company under tier 1 when it's like the perfect match, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, etc, etc. So the first thing before operating all those implementation in HubSpot is to understand how you will define those different tiers. For this example, we will have a really easy example. Define a tier based on 3 criteria for a company: its country, its annual revenue, and its industry. Basically, we have this really target market, let's say France, Belgium, and Switzerland. We have an annual revenue minimum, which is $100,000. And we have like 3 or 4 industries that we want to work in to define a tiers 1 company. Then, once you define your criteria, you need to implement this automation. You have 2 ways to make it depending on the rule you would have defined for your tiers criteria. Either those criteria are fixed. Let's say for a tier 1, this company needs absolutely to be from this specific country and have at least this specific amount of annual revenue and this specific industry. Or you could have like kind of more flexible criteria, which is it's fine if its company doesn't come from this specific country as long as they have like a super high annual revenue. Depending on how you create those criteria, you will choose either a company tier workflow for fixed rules or a company fit score with the lead scoring app if you have more flexible rules. So let's see those 2 options one by one, and we'll start with the fixed rules, which is the company tier workflow. The idea is to check different criteria and define if it's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, etc. company. So the first thing we need to do is to create a company property. So you go to settings, data management properties, you select company properties here, and you click on create property. So you just need to name it company tier, go to field type, choose a drop down select, and we will just type tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, for instance. And we create it. And now the idea is to create a workflow that will populate those data in this property based on our criteria. So to do so, simply go to workflows, create a workflow from scratch, and it will be a company-based workflow because we want a company tier. So first thing, we need to make sure every company go to this workflow, and every time we update one of the criteria we define for our sorting, it should get re-enrolled to this workflow to update its tier. So you click on enrollment triggers and you will choose when filter criteria is met. So the first one is to make sure create date is known. That way, every single company in your HubSpot will get enrolled in this workflow. But now we said that we want to define our tiers based on 3 properties, which are the country of the company, its annual revenue, and its industry. So we just need to create another criteria or saying when the country, so I use HQ country property, is known. So it means every time the country will get known or updated, it will get re-enrolled in this workflow. And we do it for the 2 other criteria, which are annual revenue and industry. Once you have all your criteria, you can click on save, and be careful, you want that tier to be updated every time there's a modification, so companies should be able to re-enroll. So you click again, click on re-enrollment, and you turn that on and check that all the criteria are well ticked. You save, and now we just need to do like we did with the lead qualification workflow, a branch of event to define the tier. So let's start with our perfect situation. Our perfect situation is that a company has more than 100,000 euros of revenue, because if not, they will not be able to purchase our services or our product. So you click on plus, branch, and our logic. You name it annual revenue to remember what it is. And as a criteria, you will choose annual revenue is greater than or equal to 100,000. So basically, a company gets enrolled if it has a good revenue for us, it will go to the left. If not, it will go to the right. Then we want to check the country. Let's say I have a company that prefer offering their services to French-speaking countries in Europe. So let's say that my dream market is French, Belgium, and Switzerland. So I click on branch and our logic again, and this time we take care of the country. We choose HQ country as a filter, and is any of France, Belgium, and Switzerland. And then we want to focus on the industry. So let's say I have 3 industry I really want to focus on to have tier 1 companies. I will click under country as well, under the good branch, so Belgium, French, or Switzerland. I have a branch and our logic, and call it industry. And then I will add the criteria, choose industry. And let's say my dream industries are accounting, airlines, and alternative medicine, for instance. You click on save, and here we have our dream company, our tier 1 company, because it's a company that gets more than 100,000, that belongs to the market I'm targeting, and in the good industry. So that makes this company a tier 1 company. So just need to click on plus, CRM, edit records, and we will just choose the company tier property we just created and add the tier 1 value. And now we realize that we define our tier 1 and we can think that more than 100,000 euros plus Belgium, France, and Switzerland, but not in the good industry, could be considered as a tier 2. So I can just clone that here, place here, and I will modify the tier 1 by the tier 2. Simply by doing that. And we just need to go up the branch to find the good tier for each situation. So let's say that annual revenue, anyway, if they don't have more than 100, they will never be able to buy our product. So they are a tier 3, no matter what. So I will just put a tier 3 here. So CRM, edit records, company tier, choose the value is tier 3. And now we have one more box to check. Is like if they have a good amount of money, but they're not from a targeted market, I might think, okay, I don't mind selling my product to Italian or Portuguese companies, but they need to have a way higher annual revenue because it will imply me to work with translators and stuff like that. So we can create another event branch for the non-French speaking countries, and this time say annual revenue, and it should be more than 1 million. Annual revenue is greater than or equal to 1 million. And that way, even if it's not on our targeting market, if we got more than 1 million, they are still okay for us, so we can tag them as tier 2. So edit records, choose a property, company tier is tier 2. If they are not in my targeted market and they don't have more than 1 million, I don't want to work with them, so they are tier 3. So you can just clone that here and choose tier 3. So that's an example of how you can define the different tier of a company based on your criteria. It's an easy example, but feel free to making match your criteria and the number of tiers you want. Once you're done, you can just click on review and publish, click on yes to enroll all your existing companies. So you make sure all your companies have a tier now. Click on next, 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 and turn on the workflow. So now is the first way to create a company tier automation. As I mentioned, if you don't want this kind of yes or no logic, but you want like more score-based logic, we can use the new lead scoring app that HubSpot released a few months ago. I did a full video about how it works, but let's do it quickly for this specific example of company tiering score. So to do so, you just need to go to marketing and click on lead scoring. Then you start from scratch. And even though HubSpot let us do a lead scoring for contacts, you can also do a company score and specifically a company fit score. So basically it will take the same logic as we did, but instead of being just left or right, you can put more or less importance for each criteria. So you click on create and you will be able to start building your score. So first thing, we name it company fit score, let's say, and we will add a group property. So to understand how it works is like this score based on the criteria we defined will give you a score between 0 and 100. And each group can take more or less importance into that end score. So now we have just one group, so this group will be on 100 points. But because we have 3 criteria, we have the country, industry, and annual revenue, we want to create 3 groups. So we create 3 groups and we name it accordingly. So we have the country here, we'll have the industry here, and we'll have the annual revenue. And then we can start building our score. So in terms of importance, we saw that annual revenue is the most important thing for us. So we want to give him a 50 out of the total 100 points. Then country is really important. So we will want to give him 30 out of the 100. And industry is less important. So we give him 20 points. What does that mean? It means that all the points we will allocate it in those different groups, the annual revenue will never give more than 50 points out of the total of 100, industry no more than 20 points out of this 100, and country no more than 30 points out of those 100. So now we can start building our criteria. So annual revenue, we saw that if annual revenue is greater than or equal to 1 million, it's amazing, so we give it like the maximum points. But we also saw that we just need a 100,000 to make it work for our products or services. So we can say 100 is good enough, we give it like 40 points. However, we saw that if it's less than 100,000, we can't sell our service. So if it's less than 100, we want to subtract like 50 points, let's say, to make sure it stays at 0 and we will not get those leads qualified in any way. So basically, in this 0 to 100 point score, HubSpot will check the annual revenue and will give either 50 or 40 or reduce 50 points out of this total score. But now we have only 50 points decided out of the 100, so we need to define the country and industry. Let's start with the country. We need to add the company object and we will choose the property country, HQ country that I defined before, and is any of our dream market, which is France, Belgium, and Switzerland. We can either here give them 30 points because they are our dream market, but we can even think it more precisely. Let's say I'm from France, so French market will be even better, and Belgium and Switzerland, they are good enough, but it might make me do extra work in terms of invoicing or stuff like that. So I can put them as 25 points instead of 30. And then I can think also that I can work with Italian or Portuguese countries because we are in the same time zone and it can still work. So I can just add Italy, Portugal, Germany, all the country you want basically, and give them less points. So let's say for them is only 15 points. It still gets some points, so it's still qualified, but it's not that high than like French-speaking countries. And the last score is industry, and as we said, we want to give a high score to the industry we chose. So is any of, I think we said accounting, airlines, and alternative medicine. This is the maximum points. But let's say now I can see myself working with fashion, architectures, and arts and crafts, but I will give them only 10 points. And that's it. The idea is now you have a score from 0 to 100 based on all those different criteria that you could build really precisely to be more flexible in terms of the outcome of the score you will have compared to the first workflow we did, which is like either A, B, or C. But now you will say, Greg, you only have a score between 0 to 100. You don't have this tier sorting, and that's what we can do here. We can just need to go to settings and we go to score threshold, and you can name it, instead of company fit score threshold, you can name it company fit tier, and you can choose the different values. So you will have only 3 tiers, low, medium, and high, but you can like change the different points that will make a lead get the low, medium, or high score. So in that case, we could do this kind of scoring because 0 to 50 means that they don't have the necessary annual revenue because annual revenue takes 50 points in total. So we have our tier 3, tier 2, which are like good but not perfect, and 76 to 100 is a perfect match for us, so it's high. So you have 2 ways of sorting your companies into different tiers, is the company fit score or the workflow automation. I hope it was clear enough. If it's the case, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I post every week long-form videos about how to use HubSpot in a deeper way, or I post every day HubSpot tips and new updates on short version. Also, if you want to have a better understanding on how to build workflow and find a lot of free examples of workflow I created on that channel, you can find on the description below a link to my workflow box, which is a private web page with all the tutorials to implement all those different workflows in your HubSpot portal by just following a clear action plan. It was Greg. I wish you a great week and see you next Wednesday.